Okay.
I'm just sitting in the front because I heard you bite.
I bite.
Like a kid.
I cannot confirm or deny. So we'll give we'll just jump by the agenda because we only have 20 minutes and we probably have 50 minutes worth of slides. So we're going to talk fast. We're going to maximize our words per minute. My name is John Ross. I'm responsible for and work on all of our customer engagement tools. And we'll talk to you about the history of that. This is my partner.
And I'm Lindsay. I'm a project manager at VMS and for the service portal, which I'll be talking about today.
So we are based in our Boston office. One of the benefits of being an early bird is you get to see scenes like that. That's what's that brick building there is is our office in Boston. I guess the benefit of having an owner who's a sailor is our offices tend to be in some pretty cool waterfront locations. So I want to talk about, so I've been with the company for 3 years. I have to do a disclaimer up front. I'm going to talk about the before and the after. I'm not criticizing anyone. You saw in Johan's presentation yesterday, DSI went from not a lot of customers to a lot of customers overnight. So the folks that were around, we didn't have a lot of attention on things like customer engagement, where they were just scrambling to sort of get through the day. And that led to a lot of, very inefficient processes. So what we've done over the last 3 years is to try to better understand our data. And then when you start understanding that data, what can we learn from that? So our approach has been, or my driving motivation is to make it easier to do business with us. So if you've been working with us for a while and you've gone through multiple renewals or different contract engagements, or people from your company have, it has not been a pleasant experience in the past. I'm really focused on making it much easier to do business with us, and then just continuously improve our internal efficiency. And I'll talk about some of the ways we're doing that. So the first thing we focused on, as I mentioned, was getting control of our data. If you have been part of a contractual process with us or ordering software from us, you got a spreadsheet, right? You got a PDF. It was a PDF of a spreadsheet. And as you all know, the problem with data on a spreadsheet is it just exists in a cell on a spreadsheet, right? And it's not very easy to aggregate that data and learn from it. So one of the first things we did was you no longer get PDFs of spreadsheets, right? So we implemented a CRM system. So now all of our contractual engagements begin digitally, right? And that was a huge step. When you have spreadsheets and all this manual data, the other problem you have is you develop bad habits and you have too many people that have to touch in order for it to be fulfilled. And I'll give you some examples. I'll use January 1st as an example. If we sent you a quote on January 1st and you accepted it, it might take us till maybe almost the end of February to deliver you the software. And frankly, we can't send you an invoice until we send you the software. So you might get your invoice sometime in March. And if your company has net 60 or net 90 payment terms, for that order that we sent you in January, we're not seeing money until June, right? And that was our reality, pretty close to that. And we all know that's not the way to run a business, right? And that was, again, a function of what we were doing and how the data the processes we're using and the tools we're using. Today, if you sign a renewal with us today, I can have your software in your hands before dinner, which means I can have you your invoice before dessert, right? So we've really come a long way. One of the ways we did that, now we have this data and everything's digital, is we really looked at automation. And that's not to say, hey, we're going into chatbots and we're going to, remove humans from the process. We looked at those repetitive tasks, and this is stuff you guys do every day and your companies do every day. What are the repetitive tasks that humans are doing that we can automate and make it easier, right? That's why we can now do this so much more quickly. And then for us internally, I talked about your experience, for our experience internally. When I started with the company, I met with the dean. Everybody knows the dean. He runs R&D. I said, "What are you working on?" And he told me all the products they were working on. And I said, "Why are you working on those?" And he didn't have a good answer. And I went to one of their meetings. This is in America, we call this inside baseball. So it's like if you know what's going on in the locker room. There was a big debate about where engineering was going to spend their time. And they were talking about a product. I don't even remember what product it was. And they were all set to go focus on this product. And then somebody said to one of the other engineers, how much revenue is associated with that product? Because that's what we all think about, right? When you're in software development. And somebody said, I don't know, $3 or $4 million. I was sitting in the back row and I raised my hand and I said, how about $16,000? Right? So for me, that was complete validation of 3 years of work. Like, let's not focus, not to say that the $16,000 product might not be important for somebody, but it's certainly not as important as the other products that you're all paying for, right? So that's part of, for me, democratization of the data. And then personalization. So what I'm going to show you, this tool that we're about to launch for the client portal, we have all become accustomed in our personal lives, in our work lives, to getting information that's relevant for us, right? It's the way everyone's building algorithms and all this stuff. So what we're trying to do is reach everybody. That's another issue we have. And I know because we have a webinar, and then 2 days after the webinar, I get the list of complaints. Hey, my customer never got invited to this webinar. How come they didn't know about the webinar, right? So we feel like we haven't been able to engage with everybody. So with the client portal, I'm going to show you, and then some of the stuff some of you know about the service portal. You'll see we're trying to get to the point where we know in the system who has what, and if there's any information that needs to be communicated to people about a product, about a geography, whatever it happens to be, we can get that information to you. This is a quick timeline of how much we've done. So you can see the service portal that's going to talk about started in 2020. You should think of the service portal principally as software distribution mainly, right? So you've all received software from us and you've seen how I hope the service portal has enhanced that. We spent a couple of years working on some things and some testing. And then at the beginning of last year, we launched a completely new quoting to fulfillment process. I won't bore you with the details, but again, we think it's dramatically changed your experience and ours. Do we have any ISVs in the room, any partners? So again, you probably know the ISV process was a bit disjointed in the past. So last year we went to a model where everyone's on the same calendar. And we're going to keep refining that. So I have ideas about even self-renewals or, because really think about it. It's not like we're negotiating all these complicated things, right? So I think there's some friction we can take out of that process. Fairly controversial at the time. We had this community program that we were treating community orders. These are people who are just hobbyists. Frankly, it was generally, I'd say it's 65% kids in university, 35% somebody who worked at DEC 40 years ago, right, 50 years ago. We were treating evaluation licenses and hobbyist orders like they were commercial orders. So we were gumming up the works with, non-revenue producing hobbyist orders, right? So we completely simplified that process. In the last 18 months, we have fulfilled 4,300 hobbyist requests, which is pretty awesome. The thing about that ratio, 65% of that are kids in universities all over the world, which I think is really cool. So we cleaned that up. We relaunched the ambassador program, and some of the folks in the room may know of the old, I think it was a DEC program and maybe then an HPE program. The idea was, again, how do we get closer to what's actually happening and engage people who are passionate about OpenVMS to help us shape the future. Internally, we launched what we're calling the solutions catalog. We're still working on this, but the idea is we get direct feeds from R&D. They're literally plugged into Jira, into the CRM system. So the theory is if you're talking to your account manager and you want to know what version of this is current, when's the next version coming, we're taking that information directly from the R&D team. So that is some work to do there. We think that's going to be a great help. And then the client portal that I'm going to show you now, I put a reminder on there for to remind myself to mention mobility. Everything I'm going to show you on the client portal, you'll be able to do on an iPad or an iPhone, which is really cool. So this is what the client portal looks like. We purposely use the same UI that we're using for the service portal. One of the challenges with the service portal, it has nothing to do with functionality. It's software distribution tool. And about 60% of our customers actually get software, right? That means 40% don't. There's 40% of our customers that don't even know the service portal exists, right? So it's not an effective mechanism to communicate with the entire customer base. But the concept is pretty simple. Everyone will have a service portal account. If you are a reseller or an integrator and you deal with multiple customers, you'll be able to see all the information in this one screen. The vision of the client portal is one-stop shop. So you can come here for order information. You can come here to get to the service portal to raise a ticket, right? We will continuously build out what you can do in that left rail, okay? But the idea is everybody can come to one place and see news. There will also be banners. And again, this is part of that personalization. That banner could be, I think we have 4 different levels of color-coded severities. But the idea is if we need to communicate something to you based on the product you use, the geography you're in, anything you can think of, when you log in, you'll see that. And in some cases, it could be multiple things that are relevant to you. But the idea is you can come here and see that kind of news. We'll post, again, these news, events, other things that are going on. It's pretty cool. You can favorite stuff and come back to it later. You'll have a My Profile page, basically. This isn't anything you haven't used a million times before with other companies, where, and again, this is where we will continuously add. We don't want to wait till we have the perfect mousetrap to get it into your hands. So when I look at this, I think there's a lot of empty real estate on it. I think it looks like, there's a lot more that can be done here. But, very minimally, you can make sure we have the right information for you, right? You can subscribe to different, we have subscription groups for what we communicate to you. So you'll be able to use that. And you can see up there in the top company information. You click into the company profile. This is what happens when it's developed outside of the US. It's Boston, New York. And if you're going to pick 2 cities, those aren't the 2 to put together. You will from here be able to, we may ask you for information with all the discussion around x86. You can see, again, this is part of that data consolidation. We're actually pretty surprised when we did an x86 survey. The distribution of hypervisors was not as we expected. The distribution of cloud providers was not as we expected. So again, we're just trying to understand more, and you can see it drives our focus. You'll know who your account manager are. If you have a technical account manager, all those people will be here. You'll be able to send them an email, reach out to them directly. And then you'll be able to see your current and past orders right down the bottom. By the way, past means January 1st, 2024 for now. And then we're testing this right now. There was, Daria told me, I mentioned this in my own peril because when we did the x86 eval, you had the ability to create a ticket, which you haven't been able to do before, and customers really loved it, and then we took it away. So she said, if you put this up, somebody might throw a shoe at you. But you'll be able to create a service ticket. And we will, when you click on that button, we will pre-populate certain fields, right? If you're a reseller, you'll be able to pick which customer. If it's just you might be able to pick which system it's on. The idea is to pass that information to Debbie's team, right? And for us also to start collect more and more analytics about what's breaking and where, for example. And then I mentioned the service portal. So downloads will be a link. You could go right from here. We implemented last week single sign-on. So you won't, any system we add to this will add single sign-on. So you'll be able to just launch right from here directly into your service portal page to get your licenses. I don't know if we're 100% I don't know if the team is 100% doing this, but in the past, we basically said, go to the service portal and get the package, and then you got an email with your license, which just seems silly. So we're going to ask you to go to the service portal, and when you go to the service portal, you'll get the packages that you need and your licenses in one place, okay? And then the knowledge base, I'm not sure how much you guys are using the knowledge base today, but same thing. If there's the intent, again, is if there's any information we have, this is your portal into it, right? And it's a way for us to not, the other way you can do this is pull everything together and build a system on top of it. We're gonna leave the things where they belong for now and just give you a window into that. I think that's my last
Yeah.
slide. Okay.
Okay, I might have to have you.
Yeah.
So I'll be talking about the service portal now. As John said, this is mostly used as software distribution for all three of our architectures. And I'll just be talking about a few of the new features that we've added over the last few months. Portal. So one of them that we downloaded, one of them that we added was the multiple package download, where you can download up to 10 packages at a time. So you would just hit the select button on the bottom, and then you would just check off the packages you want, and it'll show up as a green check mark. And on the bottom, it'll say how many packages you have selected. And as I've said, you can only download up to 10. And then once you have the packages you want to download, you just hit download. And there's going to be a little pop-up after you hit download that'll say, are you sure you want to download all these packages? And you could just hit yes. And then you'll just go into your downloads. And then after it's downloaded, the package will be highlighted green. So you don't confuse yourself if you aren't sure if you've already downloaded that package or not on the portal. So let's look at the feature.
Next.
Yep. A new feature that got added was our master kit list. We used to have this on our VSI FTP site that I know a lot of customers really liked. So we kind of, it's basically the same thing. So if you just hit that little folder in the corner, once you're on the packages page, it'll bring you to this, where it has the different architectures and the versions and the layered products, open source products. So if I wanted to just see what the latest integrity layered products were, I can just hit integrity on there, and it'll show all of them. And you can actually click the package, and it'll bring you to the package page, and you could just download it there. So if I needed to download DCPS, I'll just click that blue link, and it'll bring me right to the page. I should mention that if you don't have if you only have an integrity contract, you only be able to see integrity packages on there that you'll be able to click. So if you're trying to look for x86 or alpha, but you don't have an active contract for them, they won't be clickable. They'll just be black text, so you won't be able to see them. And you could also download the entire master kit list into a text file.
Thank you.
And then we have archive version of packages. So this is where you can find earlier versions of the kit if you need to revert back to it for some reason. So I just use RTL as an example for this one. Like if you're building a new machine and your old machines have RTL v6 on it, and you need to find the RTL v6, you would just hit the search filter, show archive versions, and you would hit yes. And as you can see, all the previous RTL versions display. And you'll know it's archived if you see this little circle right here. And you'll probably know based on the version anyway. And if you click into one of the archive versions, it'll show archived displayed right next to it.
Next.
This is going to be an upcoming new feature. Not sure when it will be released to users, but you can search using the search filters by product name instead of just typing it in for a quick and simple search. So if you wanted to know the latest versions for like availability manager. You would just scroll down in the, can't point, but the products.
Yeah.
Search filter. And then it would just display it all there. And you can see the product availability manager. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For that.
Thank you.
That's it?